Okay, we're in volume 9 of the Bible story by S. Arthur S. Maxwell, and I'm at part 3, story 9, Most Sacred Day. Why did the women of Galilee go to their tents and other lodging places to prepare spices and ointment when Nicodemus had already put a whole 100 pounds of myrrh and aloe around the body of Jesus? It could be that they did not see him do it, or or possibly they felt that the burial had been so hurried that the proper embalming would be done later. The most interesting part of this story, however, is the fact that much as they loved Jesus, these good women made no attempt to work on his body on the Sabbath. They were not supposed to. Okay? They had wished that they had gone into the sepulchre right before Joseph and Nicodemus had left. No doubt they could have found someone to roll away the stone for them if they tried hard enough, but they didn't. Do it. Excuse me. They had all sorts of good excuses to do the task. To do the task then and there. They could have reasoned with that there was nothing more important in all the world at the moment than to give their it is okay master the burial he deserves. Had not Jesus told them that it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath day? Had he not himself healed the sick and done many wonderful deeds on the Sabbath? Had he not said that on Sabbath was made for man, not for man for the Sabbath? He had, and still they didn't do it. Why? Because Jesus had never once told his disciples to do any unnecessary work during the sacred Sabbath hours. After having after giving after living with Jesus for 3.5 years, the disciples knew just how they felt about the fourth commandment and and the fourth commandment and Sabbath keeping. They had no questions in their minds as to which day they should keep or how they should keep it. So, because the embalming of the body of Jesus was not absolutely necessary just then, they left the task alone, undone, returning to Jerusalem and waiting for the holy hours of the Sabbath to pass. Yeah, because they're not supposed to not even touch a dead body on Saturdays, or I mean on Sabbath. Okay, let me get back to the story. And what a very sad Sabbath it was. The disciples were the disciples were in despair. Some had already started back to Galilee. The rest were hiding in and around Jerusalem, afraid that now Jesus was dead, the high priests and rulers would try to kill them also. It was hard to believe that only this very week Jesus had ridden into Jerusalem at the head of a great procession of happy people, with some of them spreading palm branches before him, and children crying out, Hosanna, the Son of David. Blessed is he that come in the name of the Lord. As late as Thursday morning, many still had hope that he would take over the government of Israel and let himself be crowned king. Eagerly they had waited for him to reveal his power in some wonderful way, so that everyone would welcome him as the long hoped for Messiah. Yeah, okay. Instead, within 24 hours, Jesus had been arrested, tried, condemned, and condemned, crucified. So suddenly had it all taken place that some could hardly believe it had really happened. It was as if the earth had opened up before them and swallowed all their hopes. With Jesus gone, there was nothing left to live for. What would they do without him? What could they do? In little groups, they talked of the beautiful life Jesus had lived among them, of the wise things he had said, and the kind deeds he had done, of the gracious and gentlemanly way he had always behaved, even to his enemies. How they had loved him, how they would miss him. On a Sabbath morning, word spread among the disciples that the priests and the rulers had learned where Jesus had been buried and had gone to Pilate, urging that the guard of the Roman soldiers be placed around the sepulchre. The rumor was true. A delegation had gone to the governor and said, Sir, we remind you that to that we remind that deceiver said that deceiver said while he was yet alive, after 3 days I will come and raise again. Command therefore that the sepulchre be made sure until, and then it has an illustration. It says has at the bottom. You have to really look at it real good. That's a William Hassett. That's the watercolor. Okay. It's right here. Command therefore that the sepulchre be made sure until the third day. His disciples, lest his disciples come by night and steal him away, and say unto the people, He is risen from the dead. So the last error shall be worse than the first. Pilate granted the request, saying, Ye have a watch. Go your way. Make it as sure as ye can. So they went and made the sepulchre sure, sealing the stone and setting a watch. As this news reached the women of Galilee, they were plunged into still deeper sorrow. Now, what could they do? They had planned to go to the tomb after the Sabbath to embalm their Lord's body. Now, this might be denied them. Would the soldiers let would the soldiers let them by? Slowly the hours of this and all saddest of all Sabbaths passed by. When at last sunset came again, one found the disciples still mourning their master. They could think of nothing but the fact that their beloved Jesus was dead and buried. To make to make matters worse, 100 Roman soldiers were now guarding his body, and a Roman seal upon his sepulchre. Yeah, they put a seal on it. It could have been a wax seal or put mud all around it. The fact that make sure that nobody could open it back up. They probably put clay on there to seal it up. Mm, Uh, my the urn I have, has my husband in it. It's sealed. The urn my sister was put in was sealed until they opened it up and put her out at the graveyard. Okay, so that was part 3, story 9. Um, it's time for the break, so I'll break and I'll be right back.